Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad bil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. From the du'as that you guys read that you read every day in the morning, let's test you guys, especially the students of hadith. And do we have any takhassus fil hadith students here? Yeah. So, in light of the fact this is a blessed weekend, if I was able to drive and if I had more time, I'd probably go down to Harvey, mashallah, and meet some of our brothers there. And in commemoration with this, right, there's a very interesting hadith. We have some other students as well, and mashallah we have the community as well. So we'll try to cater to both. Okay? This is a question that all the madrasa students should be able to answer. But we'll put $5 on the table. Who is the author of Kitab al-Adhkar? Right? This hadith is also found in Kitab al-Adhkar. And there's a very interesting story as well. Right. Abu Darda radhiyallahu anhu used to read one of these du'as. Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa anta khalaqtani wa la abduk. Right, the dua that you read, ma sha'allahu kan wa ma sha'a lam yasha' lam yakun. This is also found in Kitab al-Adhkar. And also there's a fascinating story there. Someone comes to Abu Darda radhiyallahu anhu, says, احترق بيتك, your house burned down. Imagine we're sitting here at the masjid. We can't, right? We drove here. We're a few minutes away, right? Yes, there are apps. There are certain things you can do. But if someone just tells you your house burned down, right? What is the initial reaction of a person? And what can you do? Right? You can't, unless, which we're not allowed to have, unless a person has jinns or some other form of protection, right? There's not much we can do to protect our house. And if someone tells you your house burned down, right? You start looking at your app, you start looking, okay, what happened? Did I get a phone number from my wife? What's going on? Right. And to the students who were here yesterday, right? This is my friends living in Venezuela who went to teach Islam in Venezuela. This is what would happen to them. They would get a call late Saturday night, right? The father is gone in Jamaat. He's 30 miles away. He gets a phone call from his wife. Someone's trying to drill into our house. Someone is trying to break into the house. You're 30 miles away. They're trying to drill into our house. Now, what would you do in that situation? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us a dua to read for protection of our family. So now, someone comes to us and says, your house just burnt down. You came for Salat al-Fajr, your house burnt down, that's it. مَحْتَرَقَ بَيْتِي وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لِيَحْتَرِقْ. Abu Darda says, my house did not burn down, and it's not possible for my house to burn down. There's no way. Get out of here. You're wasting my time. My house could not have burnt down. Right? This was the Sahaba radhiyallahu anhum. That story is recorded there. As I mentioned, who's the author of Kitab al-Adhkar? Okay. Imam Nawawi. Okay, come up here, inshallah. Yeah. Right. All these students should know the answer to that. And if the students of the classes were here, I would tell them, find a reference for the story and see what the muhaddithun have to say about that. But time is limited and I can't give homework, so I will leave it at that. So, Mufti Azim asked me yesterday what I was going to speak about this morning. So I've decided to pull an audible. Right? You guys who follow sports, you understand what that means. Right? In fact, Peyton Manning was famous for that. Right at the line, he'd look at the defense and he would call an audible. So I've decided to call an audible. So I'm going to share something unique with you that inshallah will come in handy someday and will be of some use. Right? This is part of our tradition, our Andalusian tradition. History of Spain and Andalusia. How long was Islam in Spain? How long did Muslims rule Spain? So the question, actually, there's two parts to it. How long were the Muslims in Spain, and how long was Islam in Spain? They're two different questions. They're close, but there's a difference. Anyone? Way more than 600 years. Yeah. So Muslim rule ended 1490, in the 1490s, but Muslim presence was up till roughly 1600, when the Muslims were banished completely from Spain. Right? When they were banished completely from Spain and exiled to Morocco and other places. I would make a comment about the USA soccer team in Morocco, but I'll just remain quiet. We're sitting in the masjid, no comment regarding that. So our Andalusian tradition and also our Maliki tradition, Qadi Mundir ibn Sa'id al-Baluti, the students and I spent some time discussing his name yesterday. So he has, this is a very unique book. It was considered to be lost. Right? Many of the biographers said, if we had this book, it would be very amazing, but we don't have this book. This book was considered to be lost, and it's really a part of our history that was considered to be lost. Right? This is Qadi Ibn Abdul Barr passed away 463, almost 1,000 years ago. And Qadi Mundir ibn Sa'id lived in the 3rd century. So we're talking over 1,100 years ago, 1,200 years ago. The references are very few, and the books from that time are very few. So we're going to have a pop quiz where the Arabic students come in the front. We're going to have a pop quiz, and we're going to test your guys' Arabic. And I don't have change, but we'll put some things on the table, inshallah. So I plan to share 2 different sections here, especially meant for, mashallah, the parents, the fathers and mothers, and if that's not included, the future fathers and mothers. Right? And especially looking at the challenges that we face, bringing up children in this time and age. Right? Recently, what happened to a famous individual, right? Their children said in public they're embarrassed of their parent. I won't say who, and I won't say where. I'll just leave it at that. But this is one of the challenges that we face. How do we encourage our children to do good, and at the same time strike that balance where we don't overdo it, and the outcome is achieved, but at the same time we don't come across too harsh, and we maintain our relationship with them. So we'll go Hayat al-Sahaba style here. So all you Arabic students, pay attention. I'm going to ask you some questions. Right? And you're going to some translations and some words. Inshallah, we'll have you guys test them. So Qadi Mundir ibn Sa'id, as I said, lived in the 3rd century, in the 200s. Right? And it was a very pious era. Almost all the people would spend all night worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was a time where people had a very strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also a very strong connection with knowledge as well. Right? So mashallah, I would also say that we in the West Coast, in California, if you guys were there right now for Team Fajr, we'd be out for an 8-mile hike, bro. And we see how many of you guys would keep up. Right? We'd go out for an 8-mile hike. There's a place called Almarez Falls. You guys can look it up. Waterfall that goes down into the ocean. Falls into the ocean. Right? It's 8 miles total. It's about 4 hours total. I would test you guys and take you guys there. And the bayan would be down at the waterfall. And we'd see how many of you guys would hang. We'd see how fit you guys are. The fitness guys and everyone we hear about in Chicago, we'd see how much you guys would hang. But, right, there's no mountains, there's no places for hikes. So the next best thing, we'll test your Arabic. We'll test your Arabic. So, أحواله بالعبادة في مرضه واشتداد علته. Okay, so let's test you guys here. Illa, what does illa mean in this context? You guys, it doesn't mean harf illat. It doesn't mean a defect. What does illat mean in this context? Yes? Illness, good. Haqat anhu ibnatuhu. Right? This is his daughter speaking. Innahu i'talla illatan thaqilatan famaradtuhu fiha. So his daughter narrates, right? So this is lost information. This is the first time I'm translating this in America, and I'm seeing this translated anywhere in the world. Right? This is the first time. Okay, I lost my spot. Okay, I had another spot marked off, and I lost that spot. Okay. Okay, here it is. Okay. So his daughter narrates. So this is a lesson to all our women folk who are listening. I don't know how many, but this is a lesson for us that the father became extremely sick. فَمَرَّدْتُهُ فِيهَا. So his daughter says, I looked after him. Mumarrida is what, you guys? Nurse. Mumarrida is a nurse. So his daughter says, I looked after my father in the sickness. وَكَانَ زَوْجَتُهُ فِي الْجِنَانِ مَا بَعْدِ بَنِيهَا. And the mother was out in the gardens. Right? This is also the life in Andalus. Right? Everyone had beautiful gardens. Right? And they would spend time in the gardens. أَحْسِبُهَا كَانَتْ بِهَا عَلِيلَةً. So the daughter says, I'm pretty sure that the mother was sick as well. وَأَعْتَلَّ هُوَ بِقُرْتُبَةَ فَمَرَّدَتْهُ بِنْتُهُ. So the mother was a little bit busy. She was spending time with the children in one of the gardens. And Qadi Mundir became sick in Cordoba. He became sick in the city of Cordoba. Who here has been to Cordoba? Ya Allah. Yeah. You won't understand the history of Spain until you visit Cordoba. Right? Interesting incident. Right? When you go to Cordoba, right, you walk in the masjid, you have a thobe on, and you have a beard, there'll be a person following you the whole time. You start your 2 rakats, and they'll come up on you, bro. They'll pull up on you. Right? So I was there. I anticipated that. I said, look, I know they're gonna try to pull some move on me. So the whole time I'm in there, I'm gonna watch. So I go to the mimbar, and Hu Allahu alladhi la ilaha illahu is written in the mimbar. So I just turn on my phone. I start recording, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir rahmanir rahim, Hu Allahu alladhi la ilaha illahu. And the police come from the back. They're like, you can't talk here. I'm like, bro, every person here is talking. There's tour guides coming here. What problem do you have? I'm just reading the Quran. I'm sitting here. I'm not reading Salat. I'm not breaking your rules. All I'm doing is just reading the Quran. They're like, no. This is our rule. You can't do that. So I wait for them to go. I start again. I start recording. Hu Allahu alladhi la ilaha illahu. This time they come with backup. So I kind of pull a move sometimes when I'm overseas. I pull out my American passport. I go, look, you guys are racist. And you're coming against me just because I'm Muslim. All these other people are talking here inside the masjid. You don't have a problem with them. So then they kindly so my wife's like, good knowing you. My wife's all, if they're going to stop you, I'm going to continue to do my thing. You do your thing. And I'll meet you in the hotel room. I'm like, okay, this is, unfortunately, this is what happens sometimes. So she saw me being escorted out. She did her own thing. She stayed inside. And I got escorted out. Then the moment I got escorted out, the masjid has a big courtyard. So I went to this cuddy place in the back. I'm like, I'm going to get my 2 rakats in, bro. If they stop me inside there, I'll get my 2 rakats here in the back. I go and I start my 2 rakats. Police come up and I say, Assalamu alaikum. The police goes, you can't pray here. I'm like, I'm done, bro. You guys can try. I'm done with my 2 rakats. So nevertheless, that was my story there. And the irony is, I posted on this on social media, and I see a musical concert inside the masjid that they have. I'm like, bro, you guys have a problem with me reading the Quran. You're playing music inside of here. You have no problem. There's a whole concert going on. You have no problem with that. But anyways, those are some stories about Cordoba. It is a very interesting experience. You visit that masjid. That masjid was built 1,000 years ago. It can fit, maybe? Yeah. The masjid still can fit about 10,000 to 20,000 people. It's a massive masjid. And the whole thing is marble. It's one of the sights to see. You won't understand the history of Spain until you understand the loss of that masjid. Right? And the sad thing is, the Catholics then took it over, made it into a church, and they took their dead bodies and things and put them in there as well. So they've desecrated the masjid, they put their own dead bodies, they started burying people there. Right? We as Muslims wouldn't do that, but they took it over. They can do what they want, unfortunately. Might is right, unfortunately. Right? So hopefully, for the next time I go to the masjid, I won't be banned, and hopefully there won't be a wanted poster for me, inshallah. Inshallah. وَاعْتَلَّ هُوَ بِقُرْطُبَةَ فَمَرَضَتْهُ بِنْتُهُ قَالَتْ فَلَمَّا تَخَفَّفَ قَالَ لِي فِي سَحْوِهِ مِنَ النَّهَارِ فِي بَعْضِ الْأَيَّامِ. Right? So keep in mind, Qadi Mundir is sick, right? And his wife and his daughter is looking after him. So he's extremely sick, ثَقِيلَةً. He's extremely sick. So, فِي سَحْوِهِ, right? Sahw is a modern word used in Arabic as well. When he felt a little bit better and he was awake from his sickness, he said to his daughter, أغلقي علي باب البيت فإني أريد النوم واجلسي في الفصيل بين الدارين فإن دعوتك سمعتي فإذا سمعتي المؤذن بالظهر فأنبهيني. So he gave his daughter very specific instructions. He said, close the door of the house because I plan to go to sleep. And you sit fil fasil. Al-murad bil fasil huna al-rawaq wa dahliz ad-dar. You sit and wait in the patio between the two houses because I want to go to sleep. That's what he tells his daughter. And he says, stay at the patio so if I call you, you can hear what I'm saying. And he tells his daughter the instructions. If you hear the adhan of dhuhr, then wake me up. Right, I'll test you guys in Arabic, but I don't want to take too long, so I won't. قالت ففعلت ما أمرني به. The daughter says, I carried out my father's commands, and I woke him up for dhuhr. فلما سمعت المؤذن أتيت باب البيت وفتحته. She says, the moment I heard the adhan, I came to the entrance of the door and I opened it. فوجدته جالسا. And I found my father, instead of sleeping as he said he was going to be, he was sitting. فقال لي كنت قد استوحشت نفسي لما حرمت من الصلاة هذه الأيام. فلما تخففت تشوقت نفسي إلى القرآن. فقرأت منذ خرجت عني إلى الساعة نصف القرآن. So he says, this whole time I was sick, my soul and my nafs had felt deprived and felt lost from the salat that I used to read. Because of the sickness, I couldn't stay awake at night for salat, and I couldn't spend my time in salat, so I became lonely. There's also a lesson as well about جُعِلَتْ قُرَّةُ عَيْنِي فِي الصَّلَاةِ and the peace many people experience from salat. So he says, once my health felt better, I desired towards the Quran. Right? And what I really felt like saying today is, mashallah, all those who came for Team Fajr, the salat itself and the qunut and the du'as really should be enough. MashaAllah, may Allah reward the qari and the imam. Right? Those who enjoy the Quran, right? That made my day. So the scholar here writes, this whole time I've been sick, I've been desiring to read the Quran. And he's pretty much telling his daughter, so I told you to go and I told you I wanted her to sleep. I didn't really want to sleep. So since you left me inside of here, I've read half the Quran. Right? This was the practice of the people of Spain and the Muslim tradition in Spain. Right? Our teacher, when he visited Morocco for 40 days in Tabligh, very interesting. Right? You guys, right? Whether what happens in Olympics, this and that, that's beside the point. But Moroccans have a very interesting tradition. Distances were measured in terms of Quran. When our teacher visited, this is what he said. Right? For example, the distance from Rabat to Marrakesh wasn't 2 hours, it was 5 juz of the Quran. For example, I don't know the exact amount. I'm giving you as an example. That was the tradition of the Quran in Morocco. And really that's passed down from Spain. So he says, I've read half the Quran right now. وَوَجَدْتُ لِنَفْسِي خِفَّةً زَائِدَةً بِحَمْدِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ جَدَدَ الْوُضُوء وَصَلَّى الظُّهْرَ. And he said, I feel really good. My health feels really good. Alhamdulillah, by the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he made a new wudu and he went and he read his Dhuhr Salat. Okay, now this is the part that's relevant to us. Why did I share the story? And how does it relate to us as parents, as Muslim parents in the 21st century? قالت. This is the smart daughter speaking. وَكَانَ رَحِمَ اللَّهُ يُحَدِّثُنَا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا مِنْ فِعْلِهِ. Right now, so why did the Shaykh, right, if he read half the Quran, what was the need to tell his daughter this? Right? Was he showing off? And today, as we know on social media, right, take a selfie. I'm just chilling with the homies for Team Fajr. Right? This is the world we live in. Everything's posted. So the daughter clarifies, كَانَ رَحِمَ اللَّهُ يُحَدِّثُنَا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا مِنْ فِعْلِهِ لِيُنَشِّطْنَا بِذَلِكَ عَلَى فِعْلِ الْخَيْرِ وَالرَّغْبَةِ فِيهِ وَأَخْذِ أَنفُسِنَا بِهِ. So you guys, the Arabic students, لِيُنَشِّطْنَا. What does يُنَشِّطْنَا mean? And nasheet, with a ta, yes? What does it mean?
Means to make it fresh.
Yeah, to encourage. To encourage. Nasheet is a person who's awake, who's alert. لِيُنَشِّطْنَا من تفضيل. So she says, the daughter saying this, my father used to tell us stories about his worship. So to motivate us, that would be the best translation. To motivate us and to make us alert and to wake us up, Team Fajr, to wake us up and to inspire us. لِيُنَشِّطَنَا بِذَلِكَ عَلَى فِعْلِ الْخَيْرِ. To encourage us to do good, وَرَغْبَةَ فِيهِ, and to encourage us to do good deeds, وَأَخْذِ أَنفُسِنَا بِهِ, and so that we would start doing some similar actions. So this was the mode of Andalus. This was the way of the Qadi, to inspire the children by telling them stories and telling them stories of himself. Not to show off, not a humble brag, but to encourage them. Okay, I'll read one more story. وَكَانَ طَوِيلَ الصَّلَاةِ مُتَهَجِّدًا بِاللَّيْلِ كَثِيرَ الْعَمَلِ فِي السِّرِّ أخبرني من كان يبيت عنده. So Ibn Abdul Barr, right, this is his teacher's teacher, Qadi Mundhir ibn Sa'id. He says Qadi Mundhir ibn Sa'id used to spend a long time in Salat. And he used to spend the night reading Tahajjud, not just for 5 minutes, but he used to spend most of the night in Tahajjud. كثير العمل في السر. And most of these actions he would do privately. He would not tell people, he would not show off. أخبرني من كان يبيت عنده. So Ibn Abdul Barr is saying, someone who used to spend the night in his room. One of his personal attendants most likely his sons, says, أنه كان يبيت أولاده في باحة تقرب من موضع صلاته قال وكلمت في ذلك وقلت له لما لا تبيت بنيك ها هنا. Right, so interesting practice. This sometimes happens. You're traveling with a group of people and you want to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at night time, but you have friends, they're sleeping, they're deep sleepers. So Qadi Mundir ibn Sa'id, he would Bahat Jamu Bahatun wa hiya hauna bima'na al-fina. Right? So he would be busy with his salat and he would perform his salat close to his children. Right? He would purposely perform his salat close to his children. And one of the children asked his dad, Dad, why are you doing this? Lima la tubayyit banika ha huna. Why don't you keep your children at a distance so you can do your salat and you won't disturb them and they can be at a distance. قال لعلهم يتأسون بي وينتفعون بما يبصرون مني. Right? This is that practical example of living that practical example. Right? We're living in a time words are cheap. Right? Children, you can talk to your children for hours and hours, but they'll watch what you do and it's more effective to show them rather than talk to them for hours. So he says, I'm purposely reading Salatul Tahajjud next to my children so that yata'assawn, you guys, what does yata'assa mean? Right, from the root of the letters uswatun. So that my children can copy me. So this is that Andalusian approach, right? That indirect approach, right? Worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in front of your children, making a point, reading the Quran, doing certain things, so the children see that and they start copying the parents. Right? And anyone that has children knows your 1-year-old child will copy you, you perform salat in front of the child, that child will start performing their salat in front of you. So he's saying, I purposely read my salat al-tahajjud in front of my children so that they can copy me, they can follow in my footsteps, وَيَنْتَفِعُونَ بِمَا يُبْصِرُونَ مِنِّي. And they can see my practical example and they can take benefit from it and learn from it. Right? And this is the last part. وَهَذَا مَذْهَبٌ جَمِيلٌ. So this is not a formal madhab, you guys, but he says this is a beautiful way of teaching our children. وَبَصِيرَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ فِي التَّأَدُّبِ. And it's also a beautiful example of how to teach adab to our children and how to do it practically. وَقَدْ يَنْتَفِعُ الْإِبْنُ بِمَا يَبْلُغُهُ عَنِ الْأَبْ فَكَيْفَ بِمَا يُعَايِنُهُ. He says, generally children, this was also a different era. Unfortunately, times have changed. But the author writes, in their era, a child, if you share the stories with the child, and you tell the child, your dad was like this, your dad was such a man, generally, the children will take benefit. Right? If the father's not around, but someone comes up to you and says, your father is like this, you know, your father, people come up to me and say, your father used to take us for Jola for 4 hours when we came to Jamaat in your area in the 1980s. Right? So if you hear a story like that, it motivates you. My father was like this, my parents were like this. فَكَيْفَ بِمَا يُعَايِنُهُ. So if you hear stories about your parents and this motivates you, what about seeing them in real life? How will that affect you? Right? So this is just a taste. Right? This is the first time I've taught this section, and this is the first time I'm sharing it. Right? I hope this advice and these stories are beneficial to all the current parents and to all the future parents, and setting that example at home. Right? Setting that example at home. Right? I'll share with you guys an interesting story. Last year, I took the wives and the children to Detroit. Right? And I took them to Niagara Falls, and we had a stopover in Denver for 4 hours. So I told them we'll probably go out. Why just sit at the airport? We'll probably go out, and we'll go to Aspen, or we'll go out to Boulder. Boulder is about 1 hour away. I said, we'll go out there. Right? So it was cold, it was winter time. I was also talking about an elevation of 5,000, 6,000 feet, so it's cold. Right? So my 12-year-old comes up, right? And she goes, Abba, where's the Qibla? And I'm kind of thinking about returning the rental car. I'm thinking about food. I'm thinking about things. And I go, yeah, it's Salat al-Maghrib time. I point out to her, okay, the Qibla is this way. And she goes and she prays. I'm like, she's one step ahead of me. I wasn't even thinking about it, right? And she's one step ahead of me. So then I go and make wudu. I go and read Salat. And interesting thing, this is University of Colorado. Anyways, prime time is there, but I won't say who's prime time. I won't mention any details. But right, I'm there performing Salat on the side. Woman comes up and says, excuse me. Right? After I'm done with my Salat, she comes up and says, what are you doing? This is a public area. And what are you doing standing there? I said, look, I'm just praying. If you have a problem with that, right, I'm not taking up any time. I finished my prayer and I'm gone. So anyways, conversation started and we ended up leaving. So that's the story, the example I wanted to share. We need to, one is talking the talk, we need to walk the walk at home. Right? Show our children this, show them that example, show them Salat at home, show them dua at home, and show them how to live Islam. Right? Be a practical example and show them how to live Islam. So with that, inshallah, we'll make a brief dua, and inshallah we'll end. And if some of the youngsters were here, I'm a lot older than you guys, but if you guys are up to it, I'd probably do a 1 mile race and see what you guys time is for a mile. Okay. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Muhammad bil kareem. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا نكون من الخاسرين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار يا مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا ذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا متقين إماما رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه واصلح لي في ذريتي واصلح لنا في ذريتنا واصلح لنا في ذريتنا اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين اللهم زينا بزينة الإيمان وجعلنا هداة مهتدين اللهم زينا بزينة الإيمان وجعلنا هداة مهتدين اللهم زينا بزينة الإيمان وجعلنا هداة مهتدين اللهم أحي الدين كله في العالم كله إلى يوم القيامة وجعلنا سبب لذلك ربنا تقبل منا إنك السميع العليم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakullahu Khairan, Mufti Sahib, for the inspiring words and advice. Alhamdulillah, the time of Ishraq has come in. So inshallah, all the brothers and sisters are requested to perform the 4 rak'at and then 2 and 2. And then inshallah head downstairs for breakfast. Jazakumullahu Khairan.